Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you are new. My name is Brittany and today I thought I would start filming for you my progress in the 100-day project. This is my first year participating in it, 2024, and I wasn't really sure what to expect. If you watched my March 2024 bullet journal setup, I talked a little bit about making the 100-day project my own, like not following any typical rules or guidelines and just doing my own thing. So what I decided to do was bust up the 100 days into smaller projects. This way I can kind of dabble into different type of creative adventures, because as I explained before in that other video I was just talking about, I wasn't sure if I would be able to maintain doing the same thing every day for 100 days, just because as like someone who's always creative and artistic, I was a little concerned that I would get bored. So I thought if I busted it up, I'm doing 12-day sequences, that would give me a little bit more creative freedom. So what I did was, this is a book that I made early on when I started to make books. It is a Coptic stitch binding. You can see how tight my stitches are. That's back from my early days. But basically what I did was, excuse me, when I shared on Instagram stories that I was doing the 100-day project, I just took a screenshot of that story and I pasted it onto the cover. So then what I've been doing is every day that I do a new activity, I'm documenting it in this journal. And the reason why I picked this journal was because I knew from when I made it that it had 10 signatures and the exact amount of pages that I would need for all 100 days. So then what I do is, for each project I take a picture or I make a copy of whatever I make that day. Excuse me. And I put it on a page in the journal, date it, list what it is that I created, and then I have the 1 out of 100 down at the bottom. And it continues on like that. So this technically, I guess you would say, is my documentation of the 100-day project. So for the first 12 days, I was already making books for my creative outlet. And I decided to just go ahead and start on February 18th when the challenge started to move forward and make the books that I was making every day part of my project. So the first one that I made, I'll share with you, is this cute little chain stitch binding. I used some of my craft text that I have to make the cover. And one of the things that I was trying to do when I started making books earlier in February was to use up materials that I had laying around in my bindery. So the Handmade Book Club, which I belong to, run by Allie Manning and team, she kind of did like a little challenge type thing at the beginning of the year where she wanted to see if we could use up existing materials that we have. And I had this craft text for a couple of months now, and I decided that I was just going to use it up. This was a cute little book that I was able to put together in about an hour. This tie that I used as the closure is actually leftover string from an old pair of shorts. And I just kept the string because it was in really good shape. I used an eyelet to attach it to the front and back cover. And then what I did was I used watercolor because I had a couple watercolor pads laying around that I hadn't used, and I just decided to take a couple sheets from it and make it a watercolor booklet. And there's actually a guest class in the Handmade Book Club where a guest artist came on and was teaching us a little bit about watercolors, so I thought that I would use this book to practice what she was teaching in that class. So it already has a purpose, this one does. And then for the day 2 of the 100-day project, I decided to use up some of my gift bags that I had laying around. So if you've watched my other videos, you know that I love Tiffany & Co. And whenever you order, you get a gift bag with your order. So I had a couple of them that I saved, and I took the little handle cord out of it, and then I cut it down to where I thought it would cover like the cover of a book. So these are the pieces that I have left from cutting the bags up. And because, you know, I think this would be good as a smaller book too, so I'm holding on to that. And I just tried my best to line it up to where it would be centered. Obviously the front of this cover turned out a lot better than the back. So the back was the back of a bag, and that's why it has this crease in it. And then the text, there wasn't enough of the bag material for me to have it centered. So I just tried to have it centered flush to the left. And then this is actually a binding that I learned from another instructor, not Allie Manning, but a class that I took before I joined that club. And it is a raised band leather. So basically what you do first is you have a sewing frame, and you sew your signatures together first, and then you use a finishing press, which I am so excited because I just got one and it was delivered today. This will make making these types of books so much easier, but this is my brand new finishing press. And what you do with this is you just loosen these bolts, and then your book sets down inside here so that you can clamp it shut, and it'll hold your book tight, like tightly closed, so that whenever you go to glue your signature spine, you get your signatures really close together so that your glue doesn't go in between the signatures onto your pages. So this was an exercise in using my sewing frame. And then once you sew your signatures, then you do your gluing and you let that dry. And then once that's dry, you lay down your bands. You lay them down on your front and back cover. You can see here, I do my bands a little bit differently. Usually it's more common to have your bands just be your straight band, but what I do is I take mine apart and I flay them across the cover and paste them down. Like, I don't make a hole in my cover and then tuck them in and then flay on the inside of the cover. I do it right on the outside because I love how this looks. And I don't know if that's showing up. Maybe there a little bit you can see the lighting. This is a very dark leather. But yeah, so then once you get your front and your back covers glued on the bands, then you're ready to do the leather part. And once you get the leather part done, then you can do whatever paper you're using. So this is a couple of hours worth of work, this project is, but it makes really sturdy, gorgeous books. And I mean, you can see how this is not like, I mean, it lays flat, yes, but like you got to push it down a little bit. Like, it is very sturdy. And for the pages of this book, I did 20 signatures of a bright white copy paper. Because what I want to do is probably use this as an art journal, where I'm going to use like a Tombow dual tip marker. So those colors really pop on this paper. And then I just did a black cardstock end paper. And I do my end papers a little bit differently. Usually you wouldn't see your stitching in an end paper, but to get it lined up easier, I sew my end papers to my text block. And again, every bookmaker is different. I don't mind seeing my stitching. You know, some people, they would prefer to just be your end paper and then your paper, but I don't mind it. So that is day 2. I'm trying to find places to sit these. We'll put this one down here. And then for day 3, I did something a little different, and that was something that I was really looking forward to in this challenge, was pushing myself outside of the norms that I was comfortable in, and really trying to expand upon the skills that I had picked up so far. So for this one, it was a practice in making book cloth, and I like to go antiquing with my husband, especially. That's something we've done ever since we've met, and we have a local antique mall. So in the upstairs, because it's 3 floors, they have these beautiful vintage, I just bought one yesterday, we went antiquing yesterday, these beautiful antique Tao calendars that people used to have in their kitchens, and this is one that I'm going to make into a book also. But I just took that and I cut it down to where only the image that I wanted on the book was left remaining, and I used a double-sided adhesive Pellon sheet, and then I put a sketch paper on the back of it to kind of firm it up a little bit. This is more of that drawstring that was left from the shorts. I thought that it really matched this teal that was in the tea towel or the towel calendar. So I put that on there. This is a button that I won in one of the giveaways for the club. And I thought that it just looked kind of retro with the diamonds and the lines. So I wanted to put that on there. That's my closure. And then this is the diamond stitch. I had never done this stitch before. And when you do a project in the club, there's usually an area for like an inspiration gallery where you can look at images of books that other club members have made. And I noticed that one of them had put these little sequins and beads decorations in their spine. So I had some of those left over, and I don't use sequins that much, so I wasn't sure what I was going to use those for, and I thought, oh, perfect, I can use some of those up. So I just put those in. They actually match, the colors match. That's more of that teal, so that worked out great. And then I just used a similar color of wax linen thread to that teal to sew on my closure. And the pages in this book are, they're a mix of mulberry papers, which are these ones, and an ivory copy paper. And I like the ivory copy paper because this particular one that I used for the signature in this one is a lighter weight, so it's really good for note taking. But if you want to use like a pen or a marker, it does bleed. So this is a paper I'd love to use for like sketching or graphite. So that's day 3. I have to get that flipped back around. Here we go. And then for day 4, I again tried something that I've never done before. I'm so glad that I did it because this was a binding that scared me. I was really afraid to make this, and I put it off for that very reason. So this is the Secret Belgian binding. What I like about it is it not only allows your book to lay flat, see there, but you can fold the cover back. So I think that that is an awesome feature. And this was so much easier than what I thought it was going to be. So I'm like kind of kicking myself for waiting so long because I could have made so many books with this. I mean, it's a really easy binding, and I was afraid because I was like, oh, that looks really difficult. But no, it's not. And the way Allie teaches it, she teaches it to incorporate in pages that help to secure your stitching, so your book is even more sturdy. Usually when you make a book like this, you have a little bit of wiggle, but I'm putting some pressure, and you can see there's like no wiggle. I mean, very, very little. You're getting a little tiny bit. And that's because of how she teaches it, where you add this like reinforcing with the end papers. So this is a combination of Liberty fabric, which I absolutely love. It's a very silky type smooth fabric, very thin and light. I did the same thing with it as I did with the towel calendar, and I turned it into book cloth with that double adhesive Pellon infusible web. And then this here is just cardstock stationery, or not stationery, but scrapbook paper. And then I just chose 2 different colors of wax linen threads that I thought kind of matched the colors that was in the Liberty fabric. The paper that I used in this one is a sketch paper, and I did an altering pattern of deckled edge and straight edge. So that is day number 4, the Secret Belgian binding. One of my favorites. Just try not to shake the camera when I put that one down. For day 5, I had some of this cork fabric left over. If you can see as I'm moving it, it's got like a gold foiling on it, and it has this gorgeous flower design. It's so pretty. And what I had originally thought to do was to combine this with that Liberty fabric that I just showed you, but I kind of like that I didn't. So this book, I did make it a little bit sturdier because this is really thin. Like, this isn't your typical cork fabric. So I reinforced it by gluing it with PVA glue to a piece of cardstock that I printed something on that I will show you in a minute. And then the stitching is the spring flower binding stitch. This one too I thought looked really difficult, but I was surprised at how easy it was. The only tip that I would have if you're going to do this one is to make your center holes larger than you think you need them to be, because you're going to re-enter them multiple times. But otherwise, yeah, this was very happy project. Also, I got to use up some of my book corners. I had an abundance of them, and these ones I wasn't sure what I would do with, because they weren't the kind that you could close tightly with a pair of pliers around the corner of the book. So I just used some of this instant adhesive leather glue that I use for my journal patches, and adhered that to the cork. The closure is just some leatherettes, what do they call that? Suede cord that I had left over, and I just wrapped it around. I stitched it into the back of the cover. It looks nice and neat on the back side, and then it's all messy on the inside. So here you see the inside. These are actually the stamps that I carved out of pink erasers for the February Feb Floral Alphabet Challenge. And what I did was I put them into my computer. I scanned each one in. I went into Photoshop using my newly learned skills from the Photoshop class I'm in, and cleaned them up. And then I arranged them kind of all over the sheet in my Silhouette Portrait Design software. Kind of just made them look like I stamped them all over, and then I was able to print them out. So Photoshop, I cleaned them up and made them smaller, and Silhouette Studio, I arranged them all over the page and was able to print. And then for the pages of this one, I just used more of that ivory copy paper I like so much for using graphite on. It does really well with that. So that was day 5. And this one lays flat too. It's just springy right now because it's been closed with this cord for so long. Well, since I've made it. So I just wrap that around, and then I do a little tuck of the tail, and there you go. So that is day 5. And then for day 6, I decided to do a soft cover book that I had been wanting to learn. So it is a Coptic stitch, but you use 4 needles to sew this. I used a variegated wax linen thread, and then this cord is just some cord that I got in like a bundle pack from Michaels, where you had like, I don't know, 25 different types of like ribbons and threads for like, I don't know, $10. And I just tied it around it to close it. It's not actually attached to the book. So what I loved about this book, I didn't glue it so that you can see, is that it's basically cardstock folded in half as your cover. And I've left mine open because I'm thinking about just using this as a pocket, and also because I wanted to show you the construction of it. This is another book that lays flat, which is very attractive to me, especially as someone that draws a lot. And then the paper in this one is a heavy mixed media paper, because I'm not sure if I just want to draw in this one or if I want to do mixed media, collage, paint, watercolor. I wanted to have that option. So the reason why I chose that paper for this book is because this book is a soft cover. So I thought that that would make it more like easier to travel with. You know, I wouldn't be as concerned as like bending the covers, bending the corners. So I wanted the paper to be just as flexible. But yeah, oh, and the construction of the cover is just black cardstock, which you can see when I open it. And this blue is actually a heavy tissue paper that I received in one of my Hallmark orders that I put in from Hallmark. And I thought, well, this is really thick. Like, I had never felt tissue paper that thick before. And I was like, I bet you I can use that for a book. And it wasn't wrinkled like this. It was folded very nicely in the box. It was smooth. But I thought, what if I crinkle it? Like, mash it up into a ball. And I'm so glad that I did it, because now the cover has this beautiful texture. It's a tactile experience when you use it. It looks gorgeous. It makes the color pop because the wrinkles have highlights and shadows. And it's just a wonderful feature. I absolutely loved it. And if I ever find more of that tissue paper, I'm going to be using it for books. So I'll just close this one up. We'll move on to the next one. Okay, so for day 7, oh my gosh. This was an experience, guys, and I am so excited. Like, I'm getting emotional talking about it. I'm so excited to share this with you. Look at this book. This is Handmade Book Club, and it is an artisan book that was taught by guest speaker DJ Gaskin, the late DJ Gaskin. And like right when I joined the club is when her like interview happened, and I wasn't able to attend because of school and other obligations. So I actually missed the entire workshop. But when I was going through the archives and the blog entries to find different types of books to kind of like challenge myself, I saw this guest workshop and I was like, that is such a cute little book. And to be honest with you, the reason why I wanted to make it is because I also participate in James Luke Burke's collage clubs, his virtual voyages, things like that. And he one time did a drawing of these little houses, all different shapes, all different sizes. And then he did like a watercolor swatch over each of the houses so that everybody who participated could pick out which house was theirs. And basically it was like our little community for the group. And when I saw this book, I was like, oh my gosh, that's the same. Like that's the same concept. Everybody's going to make their own house book out of their own materials, whatever speaks to them, whatever, calls to them to compile together. And we're going to have this little village of books that we've all made. So I, of course, had to make it. So there are all kinds of happy, good things going on in this book. So the front and back cover and spine are made from more of that mulberry paper. I still have some left. I'm going to be using that for books for a while, I think. And then this is actually a stick or a branch off of my Rosa Sharon bush that's in my front yard. And that is very sentimental to me because that is a bush that I inherited from my late mother-in-law. She passed, I only knew her for about a year and she passed away from cancer. So that means a lot because this is her house. We inherited it. So I always wanted, my whole life, I wanted to live in a cottage, and I always say that our house is a cottage. So, I mean, it's adorable. I love it. Then I have a little H charm here for our last name, Hodgson. I have this little adorable clock key that we found at the antique mall. That's supposed to be the little key to our house. And then I have these little shell buttons because I love buttons. I collect them. I have a huge peanuts jar filled with buttons. This little bead was from a bracelet that I also got at the antique mall, and it has like little roses in it. That's sentimental because my husband calls me Rosie because my face turns beet red like all the time. Doesn't matter if I'm happy, sad, mad, it's beet red. So he calls me Rosie. And then there's these little star beads that he got me. And that has significant meaning too because we both love the stars in the night sky. So those had to go on there. And also the Saturn paper clip, I had to put that on there. We have a little star charm here. This is a little like brooch that he brought me home that he found. And then this is like a little frog closure that I had that I bought in that big jar of buttons. And that actually is the perfect size to hold the book together. So we love to play Scrabble. We love to read. So I took some Scrabble tiles and I put Hodgson's Cottage. And then everything that I put on these pages is very true to me and things that I love, things that I, dream about, I daydream about, things that I love, I get a lot of enjoyment out of. So again, we have another like shell button, beautiful fountain and landscaping. James Luke Burke, this is one of his drawings, another button, some pearls, an encased flower and ice. There's a lot of artsy things in here. Lots of flowers because I love flowers. This is from Grimm's Fairy Tale, an illustration. This is actually a flower that I sewed on a pink skirt that I wore for our honeymoon. And then this is a little crystally, shiny, sparkly thing. I put this in there because of the lion statue. Because both my husband and I are Leos. More of my eraser stamps. James Luke Burke again. There's all kinds of good stuff in here. All of it is so special to me. I have my butterflies. You guys know how I love butterflies. Alice in Wonderland, that's my favorite illustrated Disney. I have mail to represent all of my pen pals, everybody that I write to and love so much. I have this cute little light bulb sticker for creativity. It has flowers in it because flowers are always on my mind. More James Luke Burke, stuff that I love. Absolutely. I love this little quote that he has on this painting he did. My pockets are full of fallen stars for rainy days. Oh, that speaks to me so much because rainy days are my favorite. I love, 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 love the rain. And I love the stars. Some archive museum pieces are in there because of my studies, my graduate studies in archives, museums, and cultural heritage for libraries. And then we call each other, my husband and I, we call each other penguins because penguins mate for life. So I have these cute little penguin buttons that I put on there with our little stars and our little heart. Oh, it's just filled with so much good stuff, guys. So much good stuff. There's stuff in here that pen pals have sent me. There's paper. Like, this is from one of my pen pals. There's paper and stationery that pen pals have written to me on. Music is included because I used to do music education. I used to play music like crazy. A little stationery writing desk. This is from a pen pal letter. There's just so much good stuff in here. Everything that I love so much. And I'm so glad that and here too, I'll show you guys. I was really inspired on Instagram in 2023. I don't know, I was all over Instagram. And somebody had posted, here's a little postcard a pen pal sent me, Hodgson Water Mill. Somebody had posted, this is from a pen pal, an image of them and their significant other with pumpkins on their heads, and I was like, oh Jason, we've got to do that. So we actually got pumpkins last year and carved them, and there we are wearing our pumpkins, me and my hubby. And then these are from James Luke Burke's Collage Club. So yeah, and then this is everything that I love. I just love bright bold colors and imagery. So yes, this is an amazing experience, an amazing memory, and it's just like everything that I love. Such a great book. All right, so enough of that. Day 8 was the easiest book ever, and the title of that one just really got my attention. I'm like, okay, let's try this. Is it the easiest book? And what we did was we used a binder ring, and I used really thick book board. I mean, this was book board that I didn't even know if I was going to use for a book cover, and I just chopped it up and collaged all over it with Mod Podge. And these are some more of those book covers. They are mismatched on purpose so that I could use them up. Excuse me. And then my collages are a variety. There's stuff in there from pen pals. This is a doily from a pen pal. There's stuff from books, illustration from books. There's stickers. Stickers pen pals gave me. There's magazine stuff. And then we just took library check-in cards. Well, I did. And made those our pages. And I really am excited to share this one with you too, guys, because I was talking about when I did my bullet journal setup for 2024, how I wanted to read more. And especially since I'm done with graduate school, I feel like I have more time to do leisure reading. And I'm actually going to use this book as my reading log. So I'm going to start filling these cards out, 1 card per book. And I'm just going to do the author, the title, and then I'm going to put the date of when I read it, when I finished it. And then I'm going to use this part where the borrower's name would go and the back to put like my favorite lines from the book, favorite pages that I want to reread, things like that. So, and there are 30 of those. So I thought that that was a great way to use that book. For day 9, the book that I chose is the Back to School Notebook. And this is some more of that cord that was in that bulk pack that I bought. And this is actually the box of a Kodiak granola bar that my husband likes. And I wanted to use it because I love this little bear that's on the back. And that also has significant meaning because my late mother-in-law, she always called my husband her little polar bear. So this has significant meaning too. I'm not sure how I'm going to use it. You can tell I have... Ooh, what was that? I think one of my books slid. Anyways, you could tell I haven't used it yet because this isn't creased. So once I start using it, that's going to get folded back and creased. And then this was my first book that I've made where I used dot grid paper. I found some that's 160 GSM, and I thought that that would be really appropriate for a back to school notebook. So I'm not sure what I'm going to use that for yet, but that was day 9. For day 10, I chose to do kind kind of my own thing. There were a couple books that I saw. So one of the books that I saw I wanted to do was made from felt. And then one of the books that I saw had this cute little stitch. And Allie is calling this the barber pole stitch. So I'm calling this book that I made the Monster Barber Book. And I'm doing that because it's orange. I use kind of like Halloween colors, and then because of the barber pole stitch, it reminds me of Sweeney Todd. So I'm calling it my Monster Barber Book. And I used some more of those book corners. This is another piece of that variety ribbon that was in that bundle. Another large button that I wanted to use, some more buttons on the spine. And then when you open it up, it lays flat, and it has more of that ivory copy paper that I just tore to give it deckled edges. So this is another one that's kind of flimsy and that I don't mind if I get bent up. So it'll be great for like tossing in my purse whenever we go on like a hike or something, and I can do some urban sketching in it. So I really like that one. All right, day 11 is one that I was really excited about because we decided we were going to start a new tradition this year in 2024, and we are celebrating Chinese Lunar New Year by going to our local Chinese restaurant and getting some takeout. And for this book, it is a squash book, but Allie is calling it the Dragon Book, and I'll show you why in a minute. This ribbon is more from that bundle that I got, and this one was really fun to make because I designed, well, I didn't design per se, but I on the design store for Silhouette found these designed patterns, and what I did was I overlaid them onto each other and adjusted the transparency so that the images would show for both, and that's what I came up with for the cover. It's Asian calligraphy, and then on the inside the same thing. So these were designs that I purchased, pattern designs that I purchased from the design store, and this one is actually called Mermaid Scales. I don't know why, but I guess because it looks like the fin. But I thought, oh, well, that kind of looks like dragon scales to me. So I made it red, and then this is like a watercolor swatch, or that's what it looks like to me, of red also. So to kind of break up from the scale pattern, I used that in the middle. And I'm not sure how I'm going to use this yet. I think what I'm going to do, though, is for each of these squares and the triangles, I'm going to take photos from like our Chinese Lunar New Year celebrations and our New Year's Eve, because we also get Chinese food for that, and take pictures from those and put them into these spaces so that it is a memory of all of those celebrations. I loved making that book. It was so fun, and that one took about, I'd say, half an hour, 45 minutes. It wasn't too bad. The one that I spent the most time on of these 12 would have to be the Tiffany one and the house book. All right, do we have a drum roll? I'll just tap my fingers. The the last book of the 100 Day Project Day 12 series is a gorgeous floral book. Again, this is a fabric that I turned into book cloth using that double-sided adhesive Pellin interfacing web, and this ribbon is actually the white ribbon that they tie around the Tiffany & Co. packages. So I had that left over from my Tiffany & Co. journal that I shared with you in one of my stationery hauls, and I decided I was going to upcycle, recycle, what have you. And those were my ribbons for my spine. And then this is a French link stitch. so the stitching goes over the ribbons. And I tried to get a yellow that was pretty close to the center of the flower, even though that's kind of more of a green, but I was going for that yellow that's in between the green, so it's pretty close. But this is a mashup of a couple different books. So this is the soft cover. I don't know if you can see that, the two covers glued together. And then it's kind of like a Coptic stitch, how you can see the stitches, and then you got your French link with your ribbons. So the reason you can't see these ribbons on the inside is because they're between the front and back of each cover. This one lays flat also, and it's also fabric book cloth. This one is smooth. I don't know if you can hear it, but it is a smooth, soft, silky fabric similar to that Liberty fabric. And I put that on cardstock. So yeah, and the paper is that bright white 32-pound copy paper that takes markers really well. It's probably going to be an art journal. But yeah, there you have it. So I really hope that you enjoyed going through my day 1 through 12 100-day project experiment with books. The next 12 days of the project, I'm working on mandalas, which I am challenging myself to use a different medium for coloring each one. So if you're interested, please stay tuned so that you can watch that. I will show you all 12 of them and talk about the materials that I used to color them in. I'll also share with you where I got each of those mandalas. But yeah, that's day 1 through 12 of the 100-day project so far. Please like this video, share, subscribe, and turn on your notifications so that you'll be notified when the next 12 days comes out. Alright guys, that's all I have for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys!